Have you ever wondered why some connections between men and women feel unforgettable while others fade away almost instantly? Why is it that in moments of intimacy, a man may crave something far deeper than what seems obvious on the surface? The truth is this: what men long for in those private moments has less to do with the physical act and everything to do with what it awakens inside of them. This is where most people misunderstand desire. Many think it's about simple attraction, about appearance, or about mechanics. But human psychology tells us something far more profound. Desire is rooted in meaning. A man doesn't just crave a woman's touch. He craves the emotion behind it, the intention within it, and the presence that turns a fleeting moment into something unforgettable. Think about it. Human beings are wired for survival, but also for connection. Pleasure alone has never been enough. We seek experiences that validate us, that remind us we are seen, heard, and valued. For a man, this craving often surfaces most powerfully in intimacy. It's not just his body that seeks fulfillment, it's his soul calling out for recognition. Why does this matter? Because when a man feels that recognition, something inside of him shifts, his confidence rises, his sense of worth deepens, and suddenly intimacy becomes not just a physical act, but a transformation of his very identity. This is why intimacy can make or break relationships. It either leaves a man feeling small, overlooked, and disconnected, or it leaves him feeling like he is more than enough, like he matters in the deepest way possible. Psychologists have studied this over and over. Human beings thrive when they feel significance. The greatest hunger is not for food, not for pleasure, but for meaning. When a man senses that intimacy is not mechanical, but filled with intention, he experiences a level of fulfillment that no surface-level act can ever provide. So the question then becomes, what exactly is it that men truly crave in those moments? Is it about performance? Is it about fantasy? Or is it something much more powerful, something invisible, something that can only be felt? The answer lies in understanding human psychology at its core. Men don't just desire a woman who does something, they desire what it represents: acceptance, admiration, vulnerability, presence. These are the forces that ignite the deepest fires of attraction. But here's where it gets even more interesting. A man may never say these words out loud. He may not even fully understand this craving himself, because society often teaches men to bury their emotions, to hide their need for connection, to act as though intimacy is purely physical. And yet, when the right woman awakens that deeper desire in him, he cannot ignore it. He feels pulled towards her almost helplessly because she offers something he cannot find anywhere else. That's why some relationships feel magnetic. It's not because of appearances. It's not because of techniques. It's because something unspoken is happening beneath the surface. A man feels fully alive, fully seen, fully respected. And in return, he gives more of himself. He opens up. He becomes stronger in the relationship. So let me ask you again, what do you think men truly crave in those private, vulnerable moments? If you think it's simply about the act itself, you're only seeing the surface. The real answer is hidden in psychology, in the way intimacy ties directly into a man's identity, his sense of worth, and his need to feel connected beyond words. And here is where the reward lies. If you stay with me until the very end of this video, you'll not only understand what it is that men secretly long for, you'll also discover how unlocking this truth can transform the way you view intimacy, relationships, and human connection altogether. Because when you see what lies beneath the surface, you gain a power that few ever tap into, the power to inspire, to connect, and to awaken desire on a level that lasts. This is not just about attraction. This is about creating a bond that endures, a bond that goes beyond fleeting pleasure and turns into something unbreakable, a bond where intimacy isn't a performance. It's a reflection of the deepest truths about who we are and what we need. So as we move forward, remember this: intimacy is not about what happens on the outside, but about what is felt on the inside. Men crave much more than most realize. And once you uncover what that is, you hold the key to a connection that every man secretly longs for, yet rarely finds. Desire is often misunderstood. People think it is shallow, temporary, or purely physical. But the psychology of desire shows us something entirely different. What men crave in intimacy is not just an experience of the body. It is an experience of the mind and heart. Underneath every craving lies a search for something deeper, something invisible, something profoundly human. The truth is that human beings are not just wired for pleasure, they are wired for meaning. Desire is not only a spark of attraction, it is a signal of something greater. It tells us what the soul is longing for. And in men, this longing is not merely for release, but for recognition, to be seen, or to be valued, to feel like they matter in the moments when they are most vulnerable. Psychology teaches us that one of the deepest human needs is the need for significance. Without significance, even the most pleasurable moments feel empty. With significance, even the smallest gestures can feel powerful. This is why a man can crave far more than what is physical in bed. He craves the energy, the emotion, the presence that turns the act into a statement, you are important, you are respected, you are enough. Now consider this carefully. In everyday life, men are often judged by what they achieve, by what they provide, by how strong they appear to the world. Society places heavy burdens on them. They carry responsibility, expectation, and pressure. But in the private space of intimacy, that pressure is stripped away. In that vulnerable moment, what they seek most is not to perform for the world, but to be accepted for who they are. This is where psychology reveals a hidden truth. Desire, at its core, is about identity. When a man feels admired and valued in the intimate space, his very identity feels affirmed. He no longer feels like just someone fulfilling a role. He feels like he matters as a person. And this is why intimacy is never just about physical pleasure. It is about validation on the deepest level. Think of it this way. The human brain links emotions with experiences. If an experience is charged with admiration, respect, and presence, the brain attaches powerful meaning to it. For a man, this creates a loop of desire. He is not drawn back to the act itself. He is drawn back to how it made him feel. That is why men crave women who know how to awaken that feeling, because it feeds a psychological hunger that is far stronger than physical appetite. Here's the paradox. Many men may not even realize this about themselves. They may believe they are only chasing physical connection, but the psychology of their emotions tells another story. Deep down, they want intimacy that leaves them with a sense of worth. They crave the unspoken message, you are enough, you are strong, you are worthy of love. When this message is missing, desire becomes shallow. But when it is present, desire becomes powerful, unforgettable, even transformative. Let's go deeper. Every man carries within him a silent fear, the fear of not being enough. It is one of the most common fears across humanity. This fear drives men to work harder, to compete, to prove themselves, to hide weakness. But in intimacy, when a woman brings presence, vulnerability, and respect, that fear is quieted. And when the fear is quieted, the man feels safe to open, to connect, and to give more of himself. This is the hidden psychology of desire. It is less about taking and more about receiving recognition that allows him to give. This is why intimacy can heal. It can heal insecurity. It can heal stress. It can heal the silent battles a man carries within his heart. Because when he feels desired not just for his body, but for his essence, he finds strength he did not know he had. And once a man tastes that kind of intimacy, he craves it again and again, not because it is physical, but because it is transformative. Understand this, intimacy that touches the body fades, but intimacy that touches the soul lingers. It imprints itself on memory, on identity, on the deepest layers of the human heart. That is why men crave women who bring more than appearance, more than performance. They crave women who bring energy, presence, and meaning. So when you look at desire, don't see it as shallow. Don't reduce it to an act. Recognize it as a mirror of psychology. Recognize it as the language of the soul seeking validation and connection. Men crave intimacy not to escape, but to feel alive, to feel recognized, to feel like they matter. And when that craving is answered, they are not only satisfied, they are transformed. Presence is one of the most powerful forces in human connection, yet it is also one of the rarest. In a world full of distractions, it is easy to be there in body, but absent in spirit. Our phones, thoughts, worries, and endless noise keep people from truly giving themselves to another. And this is why presence is so deeply craved in intimacy, because it is so rare to find. When a man is with a woman who is fully present, something remarkable happens. He feels seen in a way that goes beyond words. He senses that she is not somewhere else in her mind, not distracted, not half involved. He feels her energy, her focus, her openness, and in that moment his desire multiplies, not because of what she does, but because of how completely she is there with him. Human psychology proves this truth. Studies show that attention is one of the greatest gifts we can give another person. Attention communicates value. It says, "You matter enough for me to give you my full awareness." And in intimacy, attention becomes presence. It becomes a message that says, "In this moment, you are all that matters." For a man, that message reaches deep into his sense of worth, and it transforms the experience into something unforgettable. Think about how rare this is in everyday life. Most conversations are half-hearted. Most interactions are filled with interruptions. Most people are caught up in themselves. So when a man experiences complete presence in intimacy, it feels like a sanctuary, a space where time slows down, where the outside world disappears, where he is no longer competing or proving. He is simply existing and being embraced in that existence. Presence also has another powerful effect. It creates safety. When two people are fully present with one another, walls begin to fall. Masks are dropped, defenses melt away, and vulnerability becomes possible. Men, especially, are not often given spaces where they can be vulnerable without judgment. But when a woman shows full presence, she creates that space. She signals that he can let go, that he can be himself, that he can be both strong and fragile without fear. This is why presence is not just attractive, it is healing. But presence is not only about the absence of distraction. It is also about the energy that is brought into the moment. A present woman brings warmth. She brings intention. She communicates not only with words, but with silence, with touch, with the way she looks into his eyes. This kind of presence cannot be faked. It is felt. And when a man feels it, he becomes drawn to it like gravity. The psychology behind this is simple. Human beings mirror the emotions of those around them. When someone is fully present, calm, and open, that state is transferred to the other. In intimacy, when a woman is fully present, the man naturally relaxes, naturally opens, naturally gives more of himself. Desire becomes less about what is happening and more about the atmosphere being created. Her presence turns the atmosphere into something sacred. Here's the reality. Technique may impress for a moment, but presence imprints for a lifetime. A man might forget the details of what happened, but he will never forget how present she was, how she made him feel like he was the only man in the world at that moment. That memory becomes tied to his desire, and it becomes a craving that brings him back again and again. Presence also communicates one of the deepest messages of love. I choose you right now fully. That message cuts through doubt, insecurity, and fear. It reassures the man that he is not just being tolerated, not just being entertained, but that he is truly wanted. And in human psychology, the need to feel wanted is as vital as the need to feel loved. Presence answers that need in the purest way possible. Consider this truth: absence wounds, but presence heals. A distracted partner leaves a man feeling empty, unseen, unimportant. But a present partner lifts him, strengthens him, and fills him with a sense of worth. This is why presence is not optional in intimacy. It is essential. Without it, desire feels hollow. With it, desire feels infinite. So when a man craves presence in intimacy, he is really craving more than attention. He is craving connection. He is craving the feeling of being fully seen and fully accepted. And when he experiences that, it does not just satisfy him, it awakens him. It gives him a sense of peace, of confidence, of belonging. And that is the deepest gift one human being can give to another. Presence is powerful, but presence alone is not enough. What truly amplifies desire, what makes intimacy meaningful, is the unspoken language of respect and admiration. A man can feel a woman's presence, but if he does not feel respected within that presence, the experience loses its depth. Respect and admiration are the foundation of how men experience desire, because they strike at the very core of his identity. Every man carries within him a quiet question: am I enough? This question does not leave him when he succeeds, and it does not leave him when he fails. It is there in the background, shaping how he thinks, how he acts, and how he loves. Respect answers that question. Respect tells him, yes, you are enough. You are worthy of being admired, not just for what you do, but for who you are. And when that message is delivered in the most vulnerable of moments, its impact is unforgettable. Psychology shows us that men, perhaps even more than women, link their sense of self-worth to the way they are perceived by their partners. Admiration is not vanity for a man, it is fuel. It is the assurance that his efforts, his struggles, and his presence have value. When a woman admires him, she breathes life into his spirit. She becomes not just a partner, but an ally in his deepest need for recognition. In intimacy, this truth becomes even more powerful, because when a man feels admired in those moments, his desire multiplies. He no longer feels like intimacy is something he has to earn or something that is transactional. He feels it as a gift of respect. He feels uplifted, appreciated, celebrated, and in return, he gives back with more passion, more openness, more energy than he ever could under judgment or criticism. Consider the opposite. When respect is absent, desire dies. When admiration is missing, intimacy feels empty. If a man feels judged, belittled, or overlooked, the most physical act cannot reach his heart. Instead of feeling closer, he feels smaller. Instead of feeling alive, he feels inadequate. That is why respect is not just a nice addition to intimacy, it is a requirement. Without it, nothing else has lasting power. Now think about the way admiration works. It is not about flattery or false praise. It is about authenticity. A man does not crave to be lied to, he craves to be recognized. Admiration is powerful when it comes from truth. It is in the small acknowledgments, the way she appreciates his strength, the way she values his effort, the way she sees him not just as a body, but as a man who carries weight, responsibility, and courage. These acknowledgments build him. They tell him he is not invisible. They remind him that what he does and who he is truly matter. Human psychology tells us that respect activates motivation. When a man feels respected, his brain releases dopamine, the chemical of reward. He is more energized, more engaged, more willing to give. In intimacy, this creates a feedback loop. Respect fuels desire, and desire fuels deeper connection. The more respected he feels, the more alive he becomes in the relationship. This is why admiration in the private space has a greater impact than admiration in public. Public admiration is powerful, yes, but in intimacy, admiration touches the core of his being. It reaches him at his most vulnerable, when he has laid down his defenses, when he is no longer performing for the world. In that sacred space, admiration penetrates deeper. It does not just make him feel good, it reshapes how he sees himself. Respect also communicates trust. When a woman shows respect, she is saying, I trust you, I believe in you, I see strength in you. That message builds security in the man's heart. It erases the silent fears of inadequacy and failure. It tells him he is not just tolerated, but celebrated. And when a man feels celebrated, he rises, or he becomes stronger, not because he has to, but because he wants to. This is the hidden psychology behind respect. It is not just about how the man feels in the moment, but about how it transforms his identity over time. A man who is respected in intimacy becomes more confident outside of it. He carries himself differently. He walks with assurance. He faces challenges with renewed strength. Because deep down, he knows there is someone who sees him, admires him, and believes in him. So understand this truth. Respect is not optional. Admiration is not a bonus. They are the essence of what men crave. Without them, intimacy loses meaning. With them, intimacy becomes unforgettable, magnetic, and deeply fulfilling. A man does not only crave the physical presence of a woman, he craves her respect. He craves her admiration. He craves the assurance that in her eyes, he is not just another man, but the man. And when he feels that, something extraordinary happens. His desire is not only satisfied, it is awakened. He gives more, he connects more, and he becomes more. Respect and admiration do not just ignite desire, they transform it into love, into loyalty, into a bond that endures. Respect and admiration create strength in a man's heart, but there is something even deeper that turns intimacy into a bond that feels unbreakable: vulnerability. Most people misunderstand vulnerability. They think it means weakness, fragility, or loss of control, but in truth, vulnerability is the highest form of courage. To be vulnerable is to take off the armor, to let another person see the parts of you that are usually hidden from the world. For men, this is one of the greatest challenges. Society teaches them to be tough, to be strong, to carry burdens silently. From a young age, many are told not to cry, not to show fear, not to expose their struggles. They are conditioned to wear masks of strength, even when they are hurting inside. But in the private space of intimacy, those masks can finally be lowered. And when a woman creates an environment where vulnerability is welcomed, it becomes one of the most powerful gifts she can give. Here is why vulnerability is so important. At the deepest level, Every human being longs to be known. Not the polished version, not the filtered image, not the role they play in society, but the real self, the self that is afraid, the self that is imperfect, the self that struggles. To be known in that way and still accepted is one of the most healing experiences in human life. And in intimacy, when a man dares to show that side of himself and is still respected, still admired, still desired, it leaves an imprint on his soul. Psychology confirms this truth. Vulnerability builds trust. Trust is not created through perfection, but through openness. When someone reveals their flaws and fears, they are taking a risk. If that risk is met with acceptance instead of rejection, trust deepens instantly. For a man, this is even more significant because he has often been taught to hide those parts of himself. When intimacy becomes a safe place for vulnerability, his connection to his partner strengthens beyond measure. Now think about what happens when vulnerability is rejected. If a man opens up and is mocked, judged, or dismissed, he retreats. He builds walls. He hides behind silence. The opportunity for closeness is lost. But when he opens up and is embraced, when his vulnerability is met with compassion, he feels something he rarely experiences: freedom, the freedom to be himself without shame, the freedom to release the burdens he carries. And that freedom turns desire into something much more than physical. It turns it into a pathway to the soul. In intimacy, vulnerability is not just about sharing fears or emotions. It is also about allowing imperfections to be seen. It is about letting go of performance and control. A man does not want to feel like he is constantly being measured or tested. He wants to feel like he can be human, with all his strengths and all his flaws, and still be enough. When a woman embraces that vulnerability, when she shows acceptance instead of judgment, she creates the kind of connection that most people spend a lifetime searching for. Vulnerability also works both ways. When a woman shows her own vulnerability, it invites the man to do the same. It signals that he does not have to be perfect because she is not pretending to be perfect either. This balance creates intimacy that is real, raw, and alive. It breaks the illusion that love is about flawless performance, and it reveals that love is about authenticity. And authenticity is what truly satisfies the human heart. Think about it. The strongest relationships are not the ones built on perfection, but on honesty. They are not the ones where both partners hide their flaws, but the ones where flaws are shared and still loved. That is the secret power of vulnerability. It transforms fear into closeness, and it turns intimacy into a place of healing. For a man, this is life-changing, because beneath all the roles he plays, beneath all the strength he shows the world, he longs for a space where he can finally exhale, a space where he can let go of the pressure, let go of the armor, and simply be himself. When intimacy gives him that space, it is no longer just about desire. It is about salvation. So understand this: vulnerability is not weakness. It is strength in its purest form. It is the courage to be seen fully and still be loved. And when a man experiences that kind of vulnerability and intimacy, he does not just crave the moment. He craves the person who gave him that freedom. Because she is no longer just his partner in desire, she becomes his partner in truth, in healing, in life itself. Her vulnerability opens the door to authenticity, but what makes that authenticity shine is confidence. Confidence is magnetic. It pulls people in without effort, without force. It is not arrogance, not loudness, not the need to prove anything. True confidence is quiet strength. It is the energy that says, I know who I am, and I do not need to pretend. For a man, the combination of vulnerability and confidence in a woman is irresistible. Her vulnerability shows her humanity, but confidence shows her power. Together they create balance, softness and strength, openness and assurance. In intimacy, this balance transforms the entire experience because it allows both partners to feel safe and inspired at the same time. Psychology reveals that human beings are deeply influenced by energy. We absorb it, we reflect it, we respond to it. When a woman carries herself with confidence, she radiates an energy that says, I am secure in who I am. I am not here to compete, to compare, or to hide. I am here fully alive, fully present. That energy is contagious. A man feels it, and instantly he rises to match it. Her confidence awakens his own. Think about the opposite for a moment. Insecurity creates distance. When a person doubts themselves, questions their worth, or hides behind masks of fear, the energy shifts. Instead of drawing closer, the partner feels tension, hesitation, and uncertainty. In intimacy, this tension blocks connection. But when confidence is present, the walls fall away. Confidence invites closeness because it signals trust, not only trust in the other, but trust in oneself. Confidence also changes the way admiration is expressed. When a woman is confident, her respect and admiration do not feel forced. They feel genuine. They come from a place of security rather than neediness. A man can feel the difference. He knows when admiration is real because it is delivered with conviction, not hesitation. That conviction inspires him. It makes him feel that he is not just wanted, but chosen. And being chosen by a confident woman feels like the highest honor. Here's what many overlook. Confidence does not mean perfection. It is not about having all the answers or being flawless. It is about embracing imperfections without shame. A confident woman can laugh at herself, admit her flaws, and still stand tall. This self-acceptance sends a powerful message to the man. You don't have to be perfect to be worthy of love. That message relieves him of the silent pressure he carries. It tells him he can let go of performance and simply enjoy connection. In intimacy, confidence becomes magnetic because it frees the moment from fear. There is no second guessing, no overthinking, no holding back. Confidence allows presence to flow, respect to be real, and vulnerability to be safe. It transforms intimacy into play, into discovery, into freedom. A man craves this energy because it allows him to escape the weight of the world. He feels alive in her presence, not because she is flawless, but because she is fearless in being herself. Psychology explains this magnetism through the concept of certainty. Human beings are drawn to those who project certainty. Certainty provides safety. Certainty provides direction. Certainty removes doubt. In the space of intimacy, when a woman carries herself with certainty about her worth, she creates an atmosphere where the man feels secure in giving more of himself. Her certainty pulls him deeper because he knows she is not seeking approval. She is offering connection. Confidence also feeds desire because it sparks admiration in return. When a man sees a woman who stands in her truth, who respects herself, who carries an aura of quiet strength, he cannot help but admire her. That admiration turns into attraction. It is not just about physical beauty. It is about the spirit she radiates. Beauty fades in memory, but confidence lingers. It becomes the reason he feels drawn back to her again and again. But perhaps the greatest power of confidence is that it liberates love from fear. Fear says, I am not enough. Confidence says, I am worthy. Fear hides. Confidence shines. Fear builds walls. Confidence opens doors. And in intimacy, when both partners step into confidence, they create a space where love can grow without chains, without hesitation, without limits. So understand this, confidence is not a surface trait. It is not a performance. It is an inner belief that radiates outward. It is a state of being that says, I am secure, I am alive, and I am present. For a man, being with a woman who carries that energy is more than attractive. It is transformative. It makes him crave not just the intimacy, but the person. It makes him want to rise higher, to be better, to give more. Confidence is magnetic because it draws people not to the image, but to the essence. And when a man experiences that essence, he is left with a desire that goes beyond the physical. He craves the energy, the presence, the assurance that only confidence can bring. And once he finds it, he knows this is the kind of connection that lasts. Confidence is magnetic, but when it is combined with playfulness, intimacy becomes truly alive. Playfulness is the spark that keeps connection from turning heavy or mechanical. It is the energy that brings laughter, lightness, and joy into a space that can so easily be clouded by pressure or expectation. And it is this freedom, this ability to let go and enjoy the moment that men crave deeply in intimacy. Why does playfulness matter so much? Because life itself is heavy. Every day, men carry responsibility, stress, and the constant weight of proving themselves to the world. In work, in competition, in society, they are taught to be serious, to fight, to endure. But in intimacy, they long for something different. They long for a place where the burdens fall away. They long for freedom. Playfulness provides that freedom. It creates a world where laughter replaces pressure and connection replaces performance. Psychology shows us that play is not just for children. Play is a core human need. It releases tension, lowers stress, and strengthens bonds. When two people laugh together, when they allow themselves to be silly, spontaneous, and free, their Brains release chemicals of happiness, endorphins and oxytocin that deepen trust and closeness. For a man, this is powerful. It means that intimacy is not a task, but a joy, not a demand, but an adventure. Playfulness also communicates a hidden message, safety. A woman who can be playful in intimacy is showing that she feels safe enough to let go, safe enough to be unguarded, safe enough to enjoy without fear. That message is contagious. When she is free, he becomes free. When she laughs, he relaxes. When she plays, he follows. And in that freedom, intimacy turns into something magical, something unforgettable. Think about the opposite. When intimacy becomes too rigid, too serious, too focused on outcome, it loses its soul. A man may go through the motions, but he will not feel alive. Desire fades when it is chained to pressure. But when intimacy is infused with playfulness, it becomes light, creative, and full of energy. It becomes less about what is supposed to happen and more about what is being discovered in the moment. That sense of discovery keeps desire fresh. Playfulness also awakens curiosity. Curiosity is the heartbeat of desire. When two people are curious with one another, curious to explore, to learn, to enjoy new layers of connection, intimacy never grows stale. A man craves a woman who can bring that spirit of curiosity because it makes every encounter feel alive, unique, and deeply connected. It tells him that intimacy is not a routine, but a journey. Another hidden truth is this: playfulness strengthens resilience. In any relationship, there will be challenges. There will be stress, conflict, and misunderstandings. But couples who can laugh together, who can bring play into intimacy, can survive storms that others cannot. Play becomes the glue that holds them together when life feels overwhelming. It reminds both partners that no matter what, they can still find joy in each other. And here is the deepest part of all. Playfulness is not separate from love. It is an expression of it. To play is to say, I trust you enough to let go. I feel safe enough to be unguarded. I love you enough to share my joy. That joy is powerful. It does not just stay in the bedroom. It spills over into the entire relationship. It makes conversations lighter, conflicts softer, and connections stronger. For a man, this is magnetic. He is drawn to the woman who brings laughter into intimacy because laughter is healing. He is drawn to the woman who treats intimacy not as a performance, but as an adventure, because adventure is exciting. He is drawn to the woman who makes him feel like he can drop the weight of the world and simply be free. That freedom is rare, and once he experiences it, he craves it again and again. So understand this: playfulness is not childish. It is strength. It is wisdom. It is the ability to take something vulnerable and make it light. It is the courage to bring joy where others bring pressure. And it is one of the greatest gifts a woman can offer in intimacy. Because when she is playful, she is not just entertaining, she is liberating. She is giving him the freedom he longs for, but rarely finds in the world outside. And when freedom meets desire, the bond becomes unshakable. A man does not simply remember the act. He remembers how she made him feel. He remembers the laughter, the spontaneity, the sense of being alive. That memory becomes his craving. That freedom becomes his addiction. And that playfulness becomes the secret that keeps desire burning long after the moment has passed. Playfulness brings freedom, but what gives intimacy its deepest meaning is connection beyond the physical. The body can create pleasure, but it is the heart and mind that create fulfillment. A man may be drawn by attraction, but what keeps him craving, what makes the experience unforgettable, is the invisible bond that ties him to a woman's soul. Human beings are wired to seek more than survival. We are wired to seek belonging, understanding, and love. In intimacy, the physical act is simply a doorway. What lies on the other side is emotional connection and even spiritual connection. That is what truly satisfies the human heart. Without it, even the most passionate moments feel empty. With it, even the simplest moments feel extraordinary. For a man, intimacy is not just about touch. It is about meaning. When he feels that the woman beside him is not only there in body, but in heart, the experience shifts. He is no longer just fulfilling desire, he is building a bond. That bond speaks to his deepest needs: the need to be seen, the need to be accepted, the need to feel significant. When intimacy fulfills these needs, it becomes far more than pleasure. It becomes purpose. Psychology teaches us that emotional connection is the strongest predictor of relationship satisfaction. Couples who share emotional depth not only experience greater intimacy, but also greater resilience in life's challenges. For a man, this means that intimacy becomes a source of strength, not just escape. It becomes a place where he feels recharged, where he feels supported, where he feels truly alive. Now think about what happens when intimacy is purely physical. At first, it may excite. It may provide temporary pleasure, but over time, it leaves a void. The heart hungers for more. The soul craves depth. When that craving is unmet, desire fades and connection weakens. This is why so many relationships struggle, because they mistake physical closeness for emotional closeness. But when the two are combined, when physical intimacy is rooted in deep emotional connection, the relationship becomes unshakable. Deep connection also requires presence, respect, admiration, vulnerability, and confidence, all the elements that build true desire. Each one adds a layer to the bond. Presence says, I am with you. Respect says, I value you. Vulnerability says, I trust you. Confidence says, I choose to be myself with you. And playfulness says, I am free with you. When all of these come together, intimacy moves beyond the body and touches the soul. For a man, this kind of connection changes everything. It quiets the fears he carries. It fills the emptiness he hides. It gives him the assurance that he is not just wanted, but understood. And being understood is one of the most powerful desires in human psychology. To feel understood is to feel at home. In intimacy, that sense of home is what every man craves, even if he cannot put it into words. There is also a spiritual dimension to this connection. Beyond psychology, beyond biology, intimacy has the power to unite two human beings at the level of spirit. It is the moment when individuality merges with unity, when separation dissolves, when both people feel something greater than themselves. This is why intimacy can feel sacred. It is not simply about bodies. It is about souls intertwining. When a man experiences that, he does not just remember it, he is transformed by it. The beauty of deep connection is that it lasts. Pleasure fades with time. Attraction may rise and fall. But the memory of being deeply connected, of being truly seen and embraced, never leaves. It becomes the foundation of loyalty, the fuel for long-lasting desire. A man will always crave the woman who gave him not only her body, but also her soul. So understand this. Intimacy without connection is shallow. Connection without intimacy can feel incomplete. But when the two come together, they create something rare, something powerful, something eternal. This is what men truly crave. Not just the physical act, but the meaning behind it. Not just the pleasure, but the bond it represents. And when a man finds that bond, he does not just desire the moment, he desires the person. He is drawn not just to what she gives, but to who she is, because she has given him more than attraction. She has given him a glimpse of truth, of love, of something beyond the surface. And once he tastes that, nothing else compares. When intimacy reaches beyond the physical and touches the soul, something extraordinary happens. It transforms. It stops being an act of desire and becomes an act of growth, of healing, of becoming more than what you were before. Intimacy in its highest form is not just an exchange of pleasure. It is a transformation of the self and of the relationship. Why is this transformation so powerful? Because human beings are not static. We are constantly evolving, searching, longing to become more. Deep intimacy provides that path. It allows two people to step into a space where masks fall away, where truth is revealed, and where both walk away changed. A man may enter intimacy seeking desire, but if it is truly deep, he leaves with something far greater. He leaves with renewal, with strength, with clarity. Think about it. Every encounter has the power to shape the mind and the heart. If intimacy is shallow, it leaves emptiness. If it is deep, it leaves meaning. That meaning becomes fuel. It becomes a memory that lingers, a force that strengthens, a reason to stay, to fight, to commit. Transformation happens because intimacy at this level is not passive. It is active. It creates, it builds, it awakens. Psychology reveals that transformation often comes from vulnerability. When two people are unguarded, when they share their fears, hopes, and hidden truths in moments of closeness, they break down the walls of isolation that every human carries. When those walls fall, the soul breathes freely. That freedom transforms how a man sees himself and how he sees the woman beside him. Suddenly, she is not just a partner. She is a mirror. a guide, a source of strength. This is why men crave more than physical connection. They crave the transformation it brings. They crave the feeling of becoming more whole, more grounded, more alive because of the intimacy they share. It is not just about the body. It is about the impact on the heart and mind. Intimacy becomes the place where he rediscovers who he is, where he feels, not only desired, but empowered to face the world with new strength. There is also healing in this transformation. So many men carry wounds they never speak of, wounds of rejection, of failure, of not being enough. In the world, they may hide those wounds behind masks of strength, but in true intimacy, those wounds are exposed, not to be judged, but to be embraced. A woman who can meet him in that place, who can accept him fully, helps heal what the world has broken, and that healing transforms him. It makes him loyal, grateful, deeply bonded, or because he has found what is rare, someone who sees his scars and still chooses him. Transformation also extends to the relationship itself. When intimacy is shallow, relationships remain fragile. When intimacy transforms, relationships become rooted. Each encounter adds another layer of trust, another reason to stay, another thread in the fabric of unity. The relationship shifts from being convenient to being essential, from being temporary to being lasting. And here is the greatest secret: transformation makes intimacy timeless. The body may change, age may come, but the bond forged through transformational intimacy only deepens, because what matters is not perfection of the body, but depth of the soul. A man does not stay because of surface attraction alone. He stays because the connection changes him, and that change is something he cannot walk away from. This is why many people remember not the physical details of intimacy, but the emotional impact it left. They remember how they felt, safe, free, alive, cherished. That memory is the transformation, and it cannot be undone. It lives in the heart long after the moment has ended. So understand this: intimacy is not just a meeting of bodies. It is a meeting of destinies. When two people bring presence, respect, vulnerability, confidence, playfulness, and deep connection, they do not just create pleasure. They create transformation. And transformation is what lasts. It is what men crave most, even if they cannot say it. They crave not just a partner in the physical sense, but a partner in growth, in healing, in becoming the best version of themselves. This is the gift of true intimacy. It changes everything. It reshapes not only the bond between two people, but the way they move through the world. It gives them strength to endure, courage to face life's challenges, and joy that radiates beyond the bedroom. Transformation is the highest form of intimacy, and once a man experiences it, nothing less will ever satisfy him again. When intimacy transforms, it becomes more than a moment. It becomes a force that shapes lives. And this is where the truth must be faced. What men crave most is not only pleasure, not only desire, but the fullness of connection that awakens their spirit and redefines their sense of worth. The body may attract, but it is the soul that holds. The thrill may spark, but it is meaning that sustains. Every man, no matter how strong he appears, carries within him a longing to be understood, to be valued, to be seen for who he truly is. In the outside world, he may fight battles, chase goals, and wear masks of confidence. But in the private space of intimacy, what he seeks is different. He seeks peace. He seeks freedom. He seeks the safety of knowing that he can let down his guard and still be accepted. That kind of connection does not just satisfy, it transforms and it lasts. And this is the secret to lasting desire. It is not about constant novelty. It is not about technique alone. It is about the heart. It is about the presence you bring, the respect you offer, the confidence you hold, and the playfulness that frees the moment. It is about the vulnerability that opens doors and the deep connection that binds souls together. When these pieces come together, intimacy is no longer ordinary. It becomes extraordinary. This is why the relationships that endure, the ones that stand the test of time, are built not on surface attraction, but on depth of connection. The fire of attraction may ignite quickly, but only connection keeps it burning. Only meaning makes it grow brighter over the years. A man who experiences this kind of intimacy does not simply stay because he should, or he stays because he cannot imagine walking away from something so rare. Human psychology teaches us that we are shaped most by the people who reach our hearts. We remember the ones who lifted us, who believed in us, who saw beyond our surface and touch the parts of us we usually keep hidden. This is no different in intimacy. A man will always crave the woman who not only shared herself with him, but who also awakened him, awakened his strength, his courage, his sense of purpose. That is what makes her unforgettable. And here is where the deeper truth lies. Intimacy is not just a physical union. It is a sacred exchange of energy, trust, and love. When you bring your whole self, your body, your heart, your mind, your spirit, you create something no one else can replicate. You create a bond that cannot be copied, a bond that no outside temptation can replace, because what is rare is always desired. What is real is always remembered. So let this be the final message. Desire is not only about passion, it is about presence. It is not only about giving the body, it is about giving the soul. Men crave women who do not just show up in the moment, but who pour themselves into it fully, authentically, confidently, openly. That is what creates transformation. That is what builds loyalty. That is what awakens love that lasts. Do not underestimate the power you hold in creating this depth. When you meet someone in vulnerability, when you give them respect, when you bring joy and confidence, you do more than satisfy desire. You elevate it. You make intimacy not just an act, but an experience, not just a memory, but a turning point. This is how love grows stronger, how bonds grow unshakable, how hearts grow aligned. Because in the end, intimacy is not about technique. It is about truth. It is about being fully present, fully open, fully alive with another soul. That is the essence of what men crave, even if they do not have the words to express it. They crave to be changed by the experience, to feel renewed, to walk away stronger because of it. And the woman who brings this gift is never forgotten. She becomes more than a partner. She becomes the deepest source of inspiration in his life. So carry this truth with you. Bring your whole self into love. Do not hold back your presence, your respect, your confidence, your vulnerability, your playfulness, and your soul. Because when you do, you create more than desire. You create transformation, connection, and meaning that will echo for a lifetime. And there is no craving stronger than that.